Hello, everyone. I'm Lisa Booth, along with Charlie Hurt, Rachel Campos-Duffy, and Joe Concha. And welcome to the Big Sunday Show. The big story tonight, the hypocrisy over President Biden's handling of classified documents. Even after more documents were found in Biden's home in Wilmington, Delaware, you know, the same place where classified info was found in his garage with his Corvette, Democrats are still defending Biden because apparently his team is doing the right thing. Watch this.
I'm going to reserve judgment. It looks, as far as we can tell, that it was inadvertent that these documents were in these locations.
We don't want to turn this into just a political football.
They don't think it's the right thing, and they have been moving to correct it.
I'm glad to see that the president and his administration are cooperating.
They take it very seriously, and they are abiding by the laws.
But isn't there an obvious double standard between the way President Biden is being treated and the whole FBI raid of Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence?
What's real concerning to me is how justice is applied, and is it applied equally? Why do you raid President Trump? This is just hypocrisy, and I'm tired of this Justice Department that we found that went after parents and others, that they utilize it to go after people because they have different political beliefs.
It's this double standard. It's, Clinton mishandles classified information, and they get Biden mishandles classified information, they get treated a certain way, and then, of course, President Trump gets his home raided 91 days before this midterm election.
I think Biden has highlighted his incompetence for the world to see.
All right, Charlie, I'm going to start with you based off of your reaction when we were listening to the Democrats. So they don't want to turn this into a political football. It was inadvertent.
No. Luckily, these people, they found the one line of business where hypocrisy and dishonesty, it's perfectly acceptable. But I mean, Jamie Raskin and Adam Schiff, two of the most dishonest sleazebags to be in Congress. Totally. To listen to them talk about all this stuff as if they're sort of honest arbiters is astonishing. But they are right about one thing. I would say there are huge, significant differences between the situation with Donald Trump and the situation with Joe Biden. The most important is that we know where the documents came from with Donald Trump. What we don't know, we have no idea where the documents came from, where they have been with Joe Biden, who has had access to them. Have they dusted them for fingerprints from Hunter Biden? Because we know of all of his business relationships he has with foreign countries and adversaries. There are lots of questions here. And the real question, and really this is the most alarming part of all of it, is we now know how deeply invested American intelligence services is in our elections. They're willing to do anything to insert themselves into these elections. Are they going to be able to carefully go after and get to the bottom of these questions?
Well, especially anything to prevent Republicans from winning. And right. Joe, on that front, let's take a listen to the incoming oversight chairman, or no, he's an oversight chairman now, James Comer. Let's take a listen.
We want to know the visitor logs to the residents. We want to know who had access to the Biden Center for Diplomacy, because this is the same type of investigation that the Democrats were so outraged and launched and demanded happen to President Trump.
So, Joe, we just heard from Comer there. What's going on in my head is why now? Why are we finding out about these documents now, years after he was vice president?
Yep.
Why now?
6 years these documents have been here. And now suddenly, January of 2023, at a time where the sitting president of the United States says that he's going to announce whether he's running for re-election or not, and now suddenly these things are suddenly discovered. You got to love Adam Schiff, by the way. It's clear that these were inadvertently placed there. Oh, really? In two separate locations? How does that happen? And why were they split up that way, by the way? There are so many questions around this, but James Comer had the right question. Peter Doocy asked it as well, and that is, where are the visitor logs to Wilmington and to the Rehoboth, Delaware beach houses? Because the president has spent, I think it's CBS News' Mark Knoller, he keeps track of this stuff, 195 days in Delaware during his presidency, which means there are a lot of people going in and out of those places, which are basically crime scenes, at least the Wilmington house is anyway, and we don't know. Here's the bottom line. Joe Biden now gets a special counsel, which is what no president wants, because special counsels, they're like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. And it could be to start out, okay, how did the documents get to the Penn Biden Center and to Wilmington? And then suddenly, when you look at those documents, and if they pertain to, say, Ukraine, China, Hunter Biden, influence peddling, and if our president is compromised by the likes of China, boy, that special counsel is going to go a Ken Starr type of direction where it starts in one place and goes in 40 different other directions.
Well, you know, particularly when we know that the think tank is backed by China. I mean, they've donated and given money. You know, Rachel, you guys had the former director of national intelligence. There we go.
Got it.
On Fox and Friends this morning. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
It can't be an inadvertent mistake when you do it 4 times. One time, maybe it's an inadvertent mistake, but, 4 times. So all of that from a legal standpoint. My concern as the former DNI is the national security standpoint, the fact that classified documents were kept at a house where a drug addict who has colleagues from communist China and unsavory oligarchs from Ukraine would have access to that. I mean, what could possibly go wrong?
I mean, he makes a good point. Yes, when it keeps happening, it's maybe not inadvertent, right?
He makes a good point about Hunter Biden. He is a crack addict. He also shared an office, by the way, with, his dad, Jill Biden, and a Chinese energy executive who had ties to the Chinese Communist government. So this is somebody with lots of ties. He also has a lot of need for money, not just because he has to pay off the strippers and the drug habits, but he has ex-wives. He has strippers now demanding child support payments. His dad wants a lot of money from him, as well as we learned from the emails. Here's the thing that really, I think, people go, it's not fair, right? The way Donald Trump is treated versus, the way Joe Biden is being treated in this circumstance. Republicans are used to not being treated fairly by the media, but we cease to be America when we don't treat crimes in the same way because of ideology or because of who is in power. Look at who is the lawyers that went, Joe Biden gets his lawyers get to go and figure out where all these documents are. Well, what if imagine if Giuliani had been picked to go into Mar-a-Lago and figure out where the documents were. The media would be losing their mind. The DOJ would be losing. They would never allow that to happen. But for some reason, it happens with them. We are losing our country because we are losing the very idea of equal justice in the law. We are no better than Cuba, no better than any, of these third world countries when we allow this to happen.
And I'm trying to remember correctly. When the FBI went into Mar-a-Lago, didn't Trump's lawyers want to oversee that raid?
No.
And they said no, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Well, and they were in full negotiation with the National Archives at the time.
Right.
And by the way, it was also under lock and key, which of course Biden backers want to. By the way,
the archives now, Comer oversees the archives. He's been sending letters out to them. They won't respond. He told us that on Fox and Friends. So archives fully involved in Mar-a-Lago.
So it's not just our intelligence services. It's the entire federal government.
Yes,
Also, so the National Archives, they were on Trump's case about turning over these. How did all these years lapse with Joe Biden?
Well,
where was the concern with him?
And again, where were the documents during that period of time? We know the exact. They were put on a plane at the White House, under Trump's White House, and they were flown to Mar-a-Lago, and they were put in a closet under a lock and key, and then put under a better lock and key after the National Archives complained about it. This has been 6 years out of the Obama. They were stolen out of the Obama White House. By whom? Where did they go? Where have they been? Who has had access to them? And that's why. And again, Hunter Biden is sad case, but it is crucial to find out what access he had to those documents, and did he do anything with them to help his business partners in China, in Ukraine, in Mexico, and other places around the world that we don't even know about.
Yeah, and it's not just Hunter Biden, because the whole Biden family is involved in this enterprise. We call it the Hunter Biden laptop scandal. This is a Joe Biden problem. Our president is potentially, in my opinion, I think he is compromised. I've asked many senators who agree with me on that. And this is serious stuff, much more serious than anything that was happening at Mar-a-Lago.
Joe, real quick, Is there at any point Democrats jump ship on this, do you think?
Wow. I think if there's overwhelming evidence that they can't run from, then no. But until then, you'll see what we saw on the Sunday morning talk shows today. By the way, if you watched Meet the Press today, by the way, Chuck Todd actually was yelling at Senator Ron Johnson. I don't know if you saw this, Charlie or Rachel, but then not many did, apparently. But then he defended Hunter Biden, and he said, well, I don't see how influence peddling the family name could possibly be illegal. Like, it's perfectly fine. So if you're wondering how the media is going to cover this, we're already seeing that double standard that we've been talking about.
Well, we will keep covering it. A great discussion.
Indeed.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.